Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Mary. Thanks so much for stopping by and for crafting with me today. So today I'm going to be playing with the Pink and Main Crafty Courtyard kit. This is the kit from May and it is the masculine themed card kit, and I just had a lot of fun. I was really happy that I had a kit that was able to kind of push me in the direction of masculine cards, because not sure, I think a lot of us struggle with the idea of gender neutral. I know I'm a huge fan of lots of glittery, pink and purple kind of color themes. So it's really nice to step outside of that for a little bit. I'm not going to show you the full unboxing, just some of the major pieces in the box and in the kit. These are a great cost-effective way to get a lot of bang for your buck. There's a lot of reusable pieces to this kit. The stencil, the dies, and the stamp set are amazing. And then of course, you can probably make multiple cards. I mean, a lot of cards with just this kit. And then when you couple it with all the things you have in your stash, you're going to be able to make just a ton. So I just showed you really quickly. We're going to get into the first card. First one, I haven't made a shaker in a while, so I thought this would be really fun since I have this really cool t-shirt die. I'm going to pick some kind of loud cardstock from the kit. Of course, everything I'm using today, with the exception of a couple dies and some embellishments, were things that you find in the kit. And then, of course, some tools like the Misty. But I'm going to put down my t-shirt here. And what's cool about this is it has a opening in the center of the shirt. So you can actually put the stamp with this down. You don't have to do them separately if you wanted to put something in the middle for that shirt. I'm going to cut this out. And I used a very neutral, a plain color for the t-shirt because that's going to be the inside of my shaker. But I did stamp it because I want the outline of the t-shirt. Now this is going to be my card panel, so I'm going to take the t-shirt die and I'm going to place that right in the center, making sure that it's lined up as good as I can get it. Cut that out, and then I'm going to take some acetate just from packaging that came with the kit. So you don't even need anything extra for that. This is just some acetate I cut down, and that's going to be the part here for my shaker window. But before I put the acetate on, I'm going to place down my back card panel and I'm going to put the t-shirt right in the center of that and hold it down with some glue. You want to do that step first before you put your acetate on so that it lines up perfectly and you don't even have to question it. I took some really thin 1/8 inch score tape and I put that down so I can then lay my acetate on top of that and get a really nice hold. I like to use this type of adhesive versus liquid adhesive when it comes to the acetate placement, because I feel like the liquid, if it slips, it's going to dirty up the acetate. These beautiful sequins that came with this kit, I'm going to put right in the center here. I thought it was enough, but it's never enough. You've heard my woes with regard to, is it ever enough sequins? And I usually fall short. But it looks like it until it starts moving around. I doubled up my foam adhesive and spared you that because that took a little bit of time. And then I'm just going to place this right on top. This card is super fun. If you even just did one layer of adhesive foam tape, you'd be fine, I think, because I have a lot of movement. I'm going to put down my Hello Handsome sentiment here. Now off screen, I heat embossed all of the sentiments with white embossing powder on black cardstock and then cut them out myself. I did it in a term I call bubble cutting, and that was cutting it around the words to make it more interesting. So I'm just going to place that down with some tape runner, and that's it. That'll do it for the card. I'm going to keep it pretty simple otherwise because it already has a little bit of thickness in there, so I don't want it to be too difficult to send through the mail. All right, let's move into card number 2. I'm just going to take some Distress Oxide with this blending brush here right in the center of this card. That's it. Just very light coating. I am using Bristol Smooth cardstock here, and that's all I'm going to do for the ink blending. Doesn't that ink blend just beautifully? I love Bristol Smooth, Oxide, and these blending brushes is like the trifecta. It's the perfect combination to get your blending beautifully. But I, off screen, took some Lawn Fawn cloud border dies and I cut a bunch with some white cardstock, and I'm going to place these on top and bottom of the blue panel that I just inked up. And as simple as that, I'm just going to stamp out the sun stamp here. And it says, "You are my sunshine." Now, as I'm stamping it right now, it's together, and I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which is an alcohol friendly ink. I'm just going to color that up with some Ohuhu brush tip markers, and it's very simple. I just used 2 or 3 colors just to get a little bit. It's funny because it's funny to shade the sun because it's the sun. Like, where's the light coming from? Anyway, all right, I cut that out, fussy cut it, and then I'm taking a black Memento Tuxedo Black marker, and I'm just going to fill that up around so you can't see my mistakes. Now here I'm going to cut apart that stamp, and I am going to stamp out "You are my sunshine." I don't usually cut up my stamps, but there's no issue as long as you're not cutting over the letters or the images. It'll be fine. And I feel like a lot of the stamps in this image could lend to cutting, or in the set, because they come together. And you might definitely want them separate. So I'm going to line up my clouds where I would want them and take a very light gray alcohol marker and just outline that. And it'll give a little bit of shading behind each of those clouds. Nothing too fancy or too difficult. It was just a way for it to look a little bit with dimension. So I didn't spend too much time on it at all. I'm going to put this down with some Barely Art glue and get that all lined up. And then do the same for the top, finishing it off with a little bit of sparkle, and that's it. I'm going to keep this card just as is. No more embellishments for that one. So here are some close-ups for that. Okay, moving into our next card. Now, this stamp is not a perfectly symmetrical stamp. So what that means is when you stamp it, I had die cut it, and then I turned over the cardstock here to the back side. And I didn't realize this wasn't a symmetric stamp until I stamped it out. Then I saw that the shoulders were a little bit different. So I'm just going to trim those up to make it look a little bit better. I am going to use this piece. I thought it wasn't that big a deal to take away from the card itself. So I didn't want to waste it. But just keep that in mind. It's not a back and forth kind of thing. So if you die cut the paper, whichever side you die cut it, that's the side that you're going to want to use as the stamped image as well. Okay, so this one's going to be very simple. I love the color combo of this. It's just not something I normally would do, but I'm just going to place it down on some pattern paper, and I'm going to take my sentiment, "You're always in my heart," and I'm going to lay that down flat. But then I'm going to make my heart image, which is a separate stamp, and I just colored that up with some alcohol ink markers. I'm going to make that on a wobble. So a wobble is an interactive piece for your card where you can place it down and then it just makes it shake on your card if you've never seen one of those. So I thought that was just really fun to make the heart shake like that. You can go flat into your envelope, so when you send it, it's no extra bulk, but then when the person opens it, they can shake the heart and it's just cute. So I'm going to back this on some of the craft cardstock that was included, and I'm going to just use that because I feel like it mutes it kind of nicely. There's no other bright colors. I kind of want that heart to be the brightest part of the card. So that will do it for that card. So the next card is going to pull in the stencil, and the stencil is really cool. It's kind of like a cube shape or like a 3D box. So I'm just going to take the same Distress Oxide color here and my blending brush, and I'm just going to really concentrate that in the center because I want that the darkest point, and then I'm going to fade it out to the rest of the card panel. So I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. I just really want something sort of popping off the center, and I wanted to highlight that stencil. So very simple to do. Stencils are just so fun. And there's the finished look for that. This card's really, really simple. I took the die of the smiley face and I just cut it out in that really super green, bright cardstock, and I'm going to put that right in the center, and then I'm going to cut it also out of black cardstock so I can fill in the eyes and the mouth, and then I'm going to add my sentiment, and this is how fast this card came together. I think that's really one of the great things I liked about this kit is I just felt inspired to make really simple cards, and I felt okay about them, which is not something I normally do. I struggle with that concept. If I didn't take an hour to do it, is it worth a card? And yes, the answer is yes. So I'm getting out of my own head and just really trying to enjoy the process instead of putting all of this ridiculous pressure on myself. So I am going to back that with the same green cardstock. You saw I just used the same piece, so I cut the die out. You know, you don't have to throw away those pieces. You can just try to keep them away from the edges and then use them as mats. So that's our finished card here. It's really, really cute to do that one. I just thought that was a fun one to send. Okay, so let's go into a little bit more of an artsy kind of card. I am going to use some watercolor cardstock in my anti-static powder bag, and then I'm going to stamp this image out with some Versafine Clair Nocturne ink, and that is going to allow me to heat emboss it because it stays a little sticky longer. So I'm going to cover it with clear embossing powder. That's how I pick up extra ink off my stamps, by the way, in case you were wondering. Some clear embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set that with my heat tool. And I don't need to do this, in fact, for the technique I'm going to use because I'm not trying to stay in the lines at all. I am going to put down my piece here. I'm using the Holtz Glass Mat, and I'm going to take some Tombow colors in the bright set, and I'm just going to scribble. And honestly, leaving it without blending is super fun. I just love the way even that looks. But I am going to blend it out because I want to get a vibrant, beautiful rainbow. It is Pride Month, in case you didn't know. So this card is dedicated for Pride Month. And I start to blend them together. Now I'm using Canson XL watercolor paper here, which just works beautifully. And I'm using a water brush. And you can see these colors. And I go back and forth, but you want to make sure that you're wiping off your brush in between, or else you're just going to get a muddy mess. So you want to concentrate on just the two blends right next to each other if you're going to use that water brush technique. Okay, I'm going to use some shimmer spray, and I'm going to drop it on there and then pick it up. And I love the splatter looks because it leaves behind a shimmery dot instead of just a regular old water dot. And I just love the look of that. Did get some warping though because I was doing a lot of water. So I'm going to use this 1/2-inch score tape here on my card base. And then I'm going to place that into my MISTI so that I can get perfect placement. Now with liquid adhesive, you have time for wiggle room. There's no time for wiggle room here. This is a commit or that's it. Hey, that's going on a shirt. Commit or that's it. So anyway, I am going, that doesn't even make any sense. Side note, I'm losing my mind. But I did add some Nuvo Dream Drops to the cloud here, and just to make that really puffy and fun. And that was it for that card. So I hope you had some fun with me today making cards from the May Crafty Courtyard kit from Pink and Main. I really enjoyed this kit. I thought it was just so much fun. So thanks for hanging out with me. At the time that I recorded this video, this kit was still in stock, so if you want to check it out, head over to Pink and Main, and I'll also list below other items that I used for the cards. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss anything from me, and follow me on other social media platforms so we can connect outside of YouTube. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.